the AWOs are the first big territory that you were in, that you were there for any amount of time. Who recommended you for the job, or how did you link up with Vern's territory?
Lord Blears, Talio Blears, he was, and Fuji. Vern brought his family. Vern had brought his family to Hawaii for a vacation. Must have been sometime during the winter, sometime during the winter month. And I had just broke in. I'd been a couple 5-6 months in Vancouver, a couple months in LA, and I came back for Christmas and ended up staying. So Vern and Billy Robinson was there with Tally in English, Englishmen together, brother thing. And Tally's the one that started me. So he hooked me up with Billy. Billy needed, I guess, I didn't hang around Billy a lot. And so I, hooked me up with Billy, and Billy helped me, work-wise and stuff. And so Gagne came in. I don't know if he came in to see Billy or came in to meet Billy or whatever and brought his thing. But Gagne came in to maybe or by the way, or I don't know. Somehow that's where Gagne finalized the Billy Robinson deal. I'm sure people known of him before that. I don't know if he wanted to bring him in or what he wanted to do or what I don't know what their interaction or what their business was. But Gagne was there. I assumedly to close the Billy Robinson deal, to bring him in his number one, number two man with Nick or whoever was holding down the heel spot. He wanted him to be the baby face. Hercules Cortez was there, but he was a gimmick. He was a gimmick. Crusher and Vern were always feuding. So and why I don't know, way before my time. But Crusher and Vern were feuding, and Crusher made his thing. So watching Billy work and stuff, Vern must have found him in Japan or stuff. So Vern must have fallen in love with Robinson's work and is everything. So anyway, long story, keep going. We're at the matches. They had Civic Auditorium, the nightly, a lot of stories in this one card. So Tally Hall, I was up and comer, had not even a year, probably not even a year in the business and in wrestling. So, but Tally Hall booked me with Fuji, and Fuji was a local. He was putting over the guys. So I, went out there. We had a 20-minute Broadway in this ring. It was like as hard as my floor here, and up top rope slams and, the whole 9 yards through. And Fuji led me naturally, and called the thing. And I didn't know, but so I was part of the package deal. I guess I got. He said, "How'd you like to come to Minnesota?" And me never, except going to California and going skiing a few times. I'd never been, been in the snow or nothing, and had no idea what the Midwest of the United States was like. And sure, and I'd heard, from around Canada and from British Columbia and being in LA and stuff. You heard about, the houses in Milwaukee and houses in St. Paul and Chicago and these kind of places, and it was aspiring to get to these places. You're in the Chicago Amphitheater was still active at the time. It still ran that. So yeah, that's kind of the transition. So I didn't break any doors down or anything getting in there. Just tally ho, and I guess I was like the 6th round draft pick after Robinson. You don't understand. I'm talking football, man.
No, I totally understand. I do understand that. I do understand that. Was this when you did you take your surfboards to Minnesota?
No.
Oh,
no.
But you did have the VW Passion Wagon, didn't you?
No. Did I? Well, yeah. No, I bought the. When I was there, I bought the van.
Oh, right. Okay.
I came with no car. I had the. I don't know where I don't know what I did with I had a Bug from Vancouver. I don't know if it was in California or not. I don't know. with my parents. I think I must have got rid of it, or they sold it or something.
Yeah,
But I bought a van in the winter here. Not smart.
with the all-weather tires on as well. The AWA in the early 70s, do you know what Vern's relationship was with other territories at the time? Because I've written down that he had favourable relationships with Houston, Memphis, San Antonio, probably in Indianapolis as well, because he did seem to trade talent here and there. But were you never offered to be farmed out here or there, because they had favourable relationships with other territories?
If I probably would have been hung around, I would have slipped into Indianapolis or I don't. Snyder and the Bruiser at Indianapolis. I think they got it from Jim. He didn't have the Sheik Detroit. I don't think, and he was kind of sucking up everything Detroit, Ohio, that area there. Down to I know Joe Dusick, but he was no threat to the Dusicks, and it was just as a part time. Joe Dusick was running the Nebraska, a little bit of Iowa. And Vern was into Iowa, so he was close to Joe because I know I got farmed out to Joe a couple times, and then Joe Blanchard was San Antonio, and Paul Bosch got along with everybody. Paul Bosch was just he was just a gentleman and a businessman, and just one of the class acts of the promoters, at the time. People talking, you do a lot of asshole things when you're working, and you look back and you were an ass. But they forget, we were at war. It was always a war. They were just stepping on the talent. They were always putting the talent. And a couple guys that could break through. So San Antonio with the Blanchard and Paul Bosch. So I don't think he had a relationship with Fritz now, because Fritz was a big time star as well. That Chicago Amphitheater TV, where Vern got Vern and Thez and that Buddy Rogers and all those belt splits, all those belt story, and Pat O'Connor, Vern, Rogers, Thez. So those four, you need wrestling historians to unravel that story, because there's all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah,
it would be interesting to.
That you'll know obviously that a few years earlier that the AWA secedes from the NWA, and why wasn't the AWA considered like an outlaw promotion to the NWA, and people trying to blacklist anybody who wrestled for the AWA, and they couldn't go to the NWA? How come there was none of that? How come the NWA sort of accepted the AWA?
Too many, there was Bob Geigel and Leroy McGurk in Kansas City, Oklahoma. And the whole Midwest was all. You had Vern going down to Omaha from Omaha to Geigel and his partner, and then later to Leroy McGurk and Watts, and then to Bosch, and then the Von Erichs were standoff office of bitch because they had their family and their stuff. So, you had that little corridor running down from Winnipeg all the way down to San Antonio. So there's so much talent there, and then on the other side running down, including Indianapolis, and Bruiser was into Detroit for a while. I think Bruiser had a part of Detroit. I don't think, for some reason, I don't know. I don't think, don't remember if Vern had a lot going on with Detroit and the Sheik's, program. But, running down that corridor, down Indianapolis, and then below Indianapolis, then you start running to the NWA guys. Then the NWA was Mike LaBelle, whatever he wanted to be, and then eventually as up north, Don Owens and the Shires, and they both, rich men. They could have been, so that it was more convenient for them, I suppose, and more accessible for them using the NWA champion. and being affiliated with the NWA. The NWA ran pretty much down from Washington D.C., down like Virginia, Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and then they into Louisiana, and then they used the NWA, but they were friends with Burns, so I don't think anybody was getting blacklisted. He was hooked up, and it's not like Vince is, where he just wants to cut your throat and pull your heart out and eat it, But it wasn't like that. Obviously, they're promoters and their egos are pretty stiff. So, but they were able to. See, the South had their own. The Fullers and the Gossett, the Grahams, Eddie Gossett and Graham Fullers. Fullers were there. Welch's, Fullers. There's several families, and then the Tennessee Jarretts, Nick Goulas, and then Buddy Fuller was back all the way from Florida, all the way to Mobile into Tennessee. So the Fullers, and nobody ever talks about the Fullers pretty much a lot of times, but the Fullers carried a lot of weight in the South there, even through Georgia, and with Gunkel. It was Gunkel before he died, then the wife, and then the NWA and stuff. They had a little war there, but there was no blackballing, really, so to speak.